this is the car.
Yeah?
Now this
is what you came in, Andy. Can you explain to the viewers what happened? What's that?
This isn't the original car.
It isn't? Well, you expected the original to be here. He decided to come here on his own, leaving us to wait at Uxbridge Station for about 2 hours. That's right. You know? So I'm going to ask if I can actually use this to drive to the station. And Andy?
What are you filming?
Simon, how's the food that they provided?
It's excellent.
I see that you've avoided the steak. Why is that? Andy?
Well, because I haven't had lasagna for ages.
Andy, what about you? What did you have?
Oh, the chicken steak.
The chicken steak.
I fancy a bit of chicken.
Right.
Especially a bit of lemon.
You see the old Aston's parked outside, ready for a quick getaway.
There was delays on the tray, so I brought it down.
Okay, let's go. We've got to be back by 2:45 to start the film.
Can you make it back in time, Andy?
The view set from you only twice, but then to the right, that area over there. And also a TV series, The Last Days of Pompeii, which was shown on TV about 18 months ago. The whole of this area was built from the big Roman set, and it was a superb set, and that was up for about 9 to 12 months. So all the areas in the studio are used as and when need be. This 007 stage is the second version. The first one burned down in the fire when Legend's been filmed. And this is slightly larger than the original one. So if you'd like to follow me, we'll go and have a look inside.
What can we say?
This is where the interior tanker scene was filmed in The Spy Who Loved Me, I believe. And also The Great Fire. Was it 1066, Andy? The Great Fire of 1066?
Around that age, I think.
Then the local requirements are that we were going to have to rebuild the roof. We're looking at something like 400,000. So Ken came back and said to me, you know, what do you think? So I said, well, why don't we get in the people who built the structure for the volcano? He said, well, you only try. So Michael Brown and his father came in and we told them about what we wanted. We wanted, in effect, a structural cover. Although this is the idea was that we wanted to cover, but we needed some structure because part of the set had to be held up as well. You know, you can't just do it all in tubular scaffolding. It is only, after all, a compression material. So they came back about a week later with a quick drawing of a possible budget. We saw Cubby and he said, well, what do you think it's going to cost? And they said 286,000. So he said, okay, let's do it. And I have in my office somewhere a series of 13 photographs from the time the first frame went up to the whole thing being finished. And the set was finished in 3 months. When I say the set building program had started quite a time before this, because there was stuff stored all over the studios, you know, components of the whole thing, all the props were being built, but we did finish it.
I could use it for another film.
Well,
we have to go
the only reason is why should Americans come here and spend a pound when they just spend $1?
Yeah.
You know, there's no incentive to come here. That's the unfortunate thing. So, I think we've got people as good as anywhere, but if there's no incentive, who knows? Might be altered, might not.
All right, press it on. Back in the queue now, unfortunately, and some people got first class transport to get up there, but you're just mere fan.
I thought we'll have to walk right there.
This looks like the runway scene from
He gave me a big folder full of photographs from Fort Knox of him, Harry Saltzman, and a fellow called Charlie Rouchon standing outside the bullion depository. And they were the first civilians who had ever been that close to Fort Knox without getting shot, because you can't approach this place. Not even the President of the United States is allowed in the bullion depository. And he said, okay, he said, we're going to build Fort Knox. So I said, perhaps you'd like to draw it. So I started off doing all my calculations of how big it was, one or two odd dimensions, but you kind of gradually scale it up. And the idea was, our art director Peter Merton was at that time in Portugal, scouting for a possible location. Anyway, as time went on, I took about a month doing all the drawings, the little model, and it went off to be estimated, and the estimator came back with the sum of £56,000, and I almost fainted. Jesus Christ, they've got a farm over this. But nobody budged a hair, and the director with Hamilton came in and said, well, we can make economies here. And he cut out the two sides, with the exception of just a little kind of wing on either side, so you had a bit of cutting space. And we got the budget down to about 36,000. So they said, okay, let's do it. So we now got bulldozers in, and we started bulldozing this. It was all virgin land. We put in proper roads. We put that road over there. Intersecting with a crossroad. And this was Golden Brook Road going down to Bullion Boulevard. And these are the real names from the real place. And Fort Knox was just over here. Big square building. It had like a big octagonal fence around it. So we started building it. And I remember Cam coming to the office one day and he said, you know, I've been down at these stage where you're frequently big. And I went down and did the size. Anyway, we now laid about 20,000 turfs. We've got black park to remove trees from other parts of the park for us, and they replanted them in the correct places that they occur at Fort Knox. So we shot the whole sequence here of Fort Knox, you know, the whole raid. And just over there we built the Auric Stud. You remember the bluegrass country, the rumpus room, and the big Parabellum house down there. That was down there. And again we used 30,000 turfs, and we used the trotting track that he had down there. We uncovered the old track that was there. It had been built in cinders all those years ago, and it was still there. So there was this was the first time the lot had really been used again since for many years. Subsequently to that, we then laid down another big pad of concrete when we did Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. We built Bombers Castle here. We did a lot of our own shooting we didn't do all the shooting at the real castle. We came back here. And subsequently, Superman came in, laid the major road right through here, and Supergirl came in, they laid a bit more, and subsequently followed by Batman, who then put in all the rest. The unfortunate thing is Batman set, as you know, went because they made the film in Hollywood, which has just finished, and it was our loss, unfortunately. That's about the words all on the lot. It's a very convenient place to do things because it means that when you do these kind of outside jobs, you always have to have cover. Gone are the days when units used to go out and they used to wait on the weather, that type of thing. You know, when you saw the electrician or the cameraman looking up at the sun, you can go practically with the new film stocks in practically anywhere and still get a reasonable exposure. But if you come into the studios and you do have inclement weather, you can pop back onto the stages where you've got your cover sets. Bonds have done quite a few model shots up here. We built a 12th full-size model of the Golden Gate Bridge with a huge photo cutout of San Francisco. We did, over on the other side, we did do a full-size part of the North Tower with the full-size airship. Which we built and hung on a crane, and we also did we blew the bridge that featured in Living Daylights, if you remember, the one that you bombed with sacks of explosives. And we did also on View to a Kill, we did actually build the airfield. Do you remember when Bond has been chased by the rocket, goes through the hangar and comes out, and the rocket then goes into the hangar, blows up? Well, obviously they wouldn't let us blow the hangar over at Northolt, so John Richardson built a model, and we did all that kind of shooting here. We laid it out again, runway, all the dispersals, built all the models, and then blew it up.
Down here, it's about 25 miles an hour, and on cue crashed the car into the wall, into like styrene bricks, and on that wall over there was where the mirror was, which blurred his vision. And the back wall down there, minus all the Pinewood signs, is exactly the same as you see it on film, where all the bullets hit the wall, where it's supposedly firing from the machine guns of the Aston Martin.
It says dead slow, Andy. Unfortunately, he wasn't going dead slow in the film, was he? And I believe there was a mirror here.
Mirror here and
Simon?
wall built along there.
One of Right. We are now walking along the street where Bond was actually blinded by the reflection. Do you remember that scene? Or
I do, yeah.
did you remember that?
I do.
The slave down sees the Rolls Royce being melted down. Was shot just here on those ladders there, look. Obviously there's no real window because that cut to a studio shot. The smelting plant was actually a studio set. that cut to a studio shot. The smelting plant was actually a studio set, and the windows are built to fire. But that's where they filmed that, and then when Connie looked down, Golding was talking to one is on the set just there. So they use various places what they put into in effect, the only location where it was in Switzerland, down in Switzerland. That's a fairly cheap film to make. That big set of backlot, the Kentucky Ranch, Knox, everything was built out the back. So it's a very profitable movie. This is the alleyway where you see the Mercedes and the Aston Martin, and they're literally zooming across each other and missing each other. The car comes round the corner and hits a few barrels. They use this area here and the one crossing. And if you watch the film this afternoon, you'll notice these wooden crates or platforms, which they are still used today, are actually there in the film Goldfinger in the corner. So nothing's really changed in that respect. It was shot at night time. Excuse me, but they did shoot it from both ends to make it look as though it's a bigger factory. But in effect, it's just literally this area and the road going across. So if you watch carefully, they're just reversing the shots and what have you. Let's go down and look at the tank now.
Is that what you were going to say, Simon?
Yeah.
You're
One of the
wondering?
apes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bit bigger, wasn't it?
I don't know.
They used the original and they piled it up in some sand. They just borrowed it for.
Oh, of course they did.
Andy, do you think we can spot the difference?
This is my shot in Austin.
We better go.
Yeah. Oh,
Go on.
Damn them all to hell!
It's dummy shot out through the roof. That's that sequence there, and the doorway was here. We're just going to have a quick look at the tank. There's no water in there, but it's worth going to have a look. Walk right down to the bottom first, so you can take photos. The deep section in the middle of the tank is when they want to film sequences where, say for example, a model boat is sunk, and the tank I think is on average about 5 foot deep. So if they wanted to totally submerge and it's a huge model, then they use that centre bit in the 2/3 scale size of a train on a boat. And that was built originally for that. When the train came off the boat, it had to go into very, very deep water, and that was shot there. The equipment behind you, if you look at the giant water chutes, that's what they use when they want to film a storm sequence. The water in the top tanks tips forward, comes down the chute and hits the water in the tank. They're positioned obviously at the sides of the tank, and that's how they create a storm effect. So the shot can only last for so many seconds, because once the water's settled, they've got to fill the tanks up and go for another take. But so you can see how complex it is to create that type of effect. Today, I think the last big film that was shot here was a TV series called War and Remembrance, and they had huge battleships there on the back of the World War II battle. And I think that's about the last time it was used. And we'll take a quick trip back to the garden to the car, and we are finished and ready for Goldfinger.
Johnny, Martin,
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah, the trains are unfortunately too.
See, this Aston Martin DB5 is equipped with all the accoutrements. Simon?
Yes, as you can
That-
see,
That could certainly cut somebody up, couldn't it?
it does indeed. Oh, yes. But it's not a completely original idea, is it?
Pardon? Yes, it was used in...
In Ben-Hur.
I thought you were going to say that.
walk up there if you like, come down.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you think we want you to walk up there, Andy, and come down?
There's someone who's down there. You gotta walk down the stairs as well.
Four cars between us. But we have to walk half a mile to the bus stop.
How many miles do you think we've walked so far, Andy?
I don't know, but it's another 5 minutes you got me into.
I'm looking, it's about 5 miles we've walked so far. You can see the distance. Yeah. Doesn't that look like 5 miles, folks? And now look in front of us. Well, there's another 5 at least.
I'll say another 15.
We're looking for a little 007 sticker at the end of the road. It's somewhere out there, folks.
We'll get there somewhere.
So here we have Pinewood Studios, and this is another great piece of video footage. I used to be a member of the James Bond fan club, and they used to do certain things every so often. It was the 30th anniversary of 007, so they wanted to pay homage to that. So they invited us to Pinewood Studios, and we had an arrangement to meet Andy at Uxbridge Station so that we could make our way to Pinewood Studios from there. And we're waiting hours and hours and hours for Andy. We had a certain deadline. We were there before. Me and Simon was, you know, we had our tea and our little buns and stuff. But at a certain point we had to leave. So we thought Andy wasn't ever going to get there. So we arrive at Pinewood Studio, and it's like Checkpoint Charlie with all the security and everything. And we arrive and we're walking up there, and we say, I say to the guard, I say, well, there was 3 of us, but only 2. Oh, do you mean Andy Goritzis? Yeah. He says, oh, he's been here for an hour or so. You know, and we walk in, Andy's having tea with all these big 007 producers and stuff. And one of them comes up and says, oh, are you the 2 that let down Andy Goritzis, you know, at the station? You know. I thought that was pretty funny. That was real. But we had a good time at Pinewood. And if you have a look where we're eating here and everything, if you remember in the James Bond films, you can see that is where Red Grant killed his first victim in the opening sequence. And that was actually built, all this extension wasn't actually built there. But when Red Grant kills his first victim, I'll show you that here. We're actually eating on that patio. I'll circle it exactly where we're eating and where now the extension is built. That's Peter Lamont. He's very famous in the James Bond film series. And have a look what a bunch of villains these are in the background.